Hey, what is up guys? In today's video, let me show you guys how I get a lot of the icons that I use for many of the video tutorials on this channel. Some of the techniques that I use, they're actually pretty basic and pretty simple. So many of you guys that are trying to learn how to do this should be able to pick it up pretty quickly. I have also set up this kind of mock application of what Facebook looks like. So I'm going to show you guys what that is, and then we'll talk about some of the techniques that I use for icon extraction. So here we are inside of the iOS simulator, and this application pretty much does nothing right now. And we have 5 or 6 icons here that we kind of want to take out of the Photoshop app itself. And when you see these 5 icons in the tab bar, we want to get these icons so that we can use them inside of our tab bar controller. And we have this little man icon inside of the blue navigation bar. And whenever you click on this, it kind of slides out your contact list inside of the Facebook app. But obviously, this is just a very basic bare bones application, so it doesn't do very much. So this is the idea, and this is kind of what we want to build towards in today's video. And it's actually pretty easy. If we start off from kind of a basis of where our icons are going to come from. So inside of Photoshop is this screenshot of my Facebook application at 9:13 p.m. And the way I get these screenshots is pretty simple. Hopefully you guys are aware of how this works. What I do is I open up the Facebook application, take a screenshot with the power and the home button, which gives me some kind of file, some kind of image in my Photos app. And then I send that to my computer via iMessage or email. And then I just open it up inside of Photoshop like this. So one thing you have to keep in mind is that you should send a very large resolution of the file so that you can perform the icon extraction. What I've noticed is that the higher the resolution, the better the quality of your icon comes out to be when you kind of extract it out. Okay, so what I'm doing to zoom in and zoom out is to hold on the Option key, and I just move my scroll wheel like that to zoom in and out. If you want to get to 100% zoom right here, you just hit Command Option 0, which gives you 100% like that. So nothing too fancy. You do have to get used to how Photoshop works, which if you are an iOS developer, you should definitely be aware of some of the tools available for kind of working with images. All right, so the interesting bit of Photoshop is this kind of tool, little tool box here with the little magic wand, which is just the W for the shortcut key. And if you click on any of these kind of portions of the image, you get a nice selection of exactly what you want to extract out. So one thing I want to configure is this tolerance right here. If I push it down to 1 and kind of select right here, see it kind of selects a smaller portion. So the tolerance actually makes a difference in the selection that you try to highlight. So going back to 5, we kind of get this selection of the image. If I Command C, and that copies what I have selected inside of the image, and hit Command N or File New, you get this little dialog box. Just hit OK, Command V, and paste that directly inside of the file. So pretty good stuff. You'll notice that if I knock out the background like that, some of the pixels that I've copied over contain a whitish border to it, but that's fine. You notice that the app itself actually has a white background to it, so this is not going to be too terrible. If you want to get rid of this whiteness to the border, one technique that I like to use is to hit this eyedropper tool right here, which is just eye. Click on this and you get this color right here inside of your color palette. Double click on this layer, go to color overlay and mess with this guy. And when you have this portion of the menu inside of your Photoshop, you can just click on this and you get that. And then you get whatever color that your eyedropper was selected at. And then you get this right here. So it looks a little fuzzy, but I think that's okay. If you now hit Command Shift Option S, you can hit Save for Web, or you can just hit File and Save for Web inside of your Photoshop app. And you kind of save this image out now. So this right here is a PNG file. So you want to make sure you have PNG24 selected. This gives you the highest quality of a PNG file, I believe. So once you have that, you can maintain the transparency with the empty background like that. So if I now hit save right here, we can actually save the image somewhere, right? So I just want to save it as news at 2x, kind of like saving my images at 2x, just to make sure it is nice and crisp when I import it into Xcode and iOS. So that's kind of what that looks like. Once you have it saved, it's inside of your Finder somewhere. It kind of looks like that right there. So not bad, pretty easy, I would think, or most of you guys should find this little tutorial pretty easy to follow. If I want to extract the rest of the icons out, it's also pretty easy if I perform the exact same steps as before. So hit W for the wand, click on that, copy, Command N for new, paste it in here, knock out the background, and just hit save. And that's all I need to do. Hit save like that. Or this is actually save for web, so make sure you do that instead. And this is the video at 2x. See, at 2x like that. And now I have my video icon right there. So that's what it looks like. There is, again, this slight white border to it. I'm okay with it, but if you're not, you can apply that color overlay technique to this as well. One thing that is kind of tricky about these icons that are not totally connected is if you click on here, you only get the top portion. You want to hit Shift and click on that. You can kind of add to your selection, which is pretty straightforward. Now that I have that, hit Command C, Command N, get a new file, paste it in here, and knock out the background, Command Shift Option S, save for web, hit the save, and I believe this is the new market icon that Facebook is trying to push. So let's just save that image there. Go back to my other image, which is this full image, hit this space. So what I'm doing is holding onto the space and I can kind of pan over inside of the image. So let's see if I hit that right there at tolerance of 5. I've got the entire globe selection. So hit copy, new, like that, paste, knock out the background. Save for web, hit save, and I'll call this globe at 2x. So you kind of see how fast this process is, right? And there's nothing really special about this entire extraction technique. It's pretty easy to follow. So hit Command, let's see, not Command, but Shift rather. Click, click, copy, Command N, paste it in there, and I get this right here. So for the tab bar, it doesn't really matter what color these icons are. You can make it whatever color you want. So let's hit the color overlay, click on that, click on this. That'll get a kind of a uniform set of images in terms of the color. Save for web, click on the save, and this will be hamburger, I guess, which for whatever reason, these 3 horizontal lines are now called hamburger in the industry, which is pretty funny. Anyhow, that's how we get all of these icons inside of my computer. So now that we have the icons, we want to go to Xcode, and let me just create a new project, and let's just call this a single view application. Call this perhaps Facebook skin, and hit next, save it somewhere inside of your computer. And now you're kind of ready to start working on your application. So I'm going to perhaps run this inside of the simulator. So this is the iPhone 7 simulator. And you get nothing when you open up your first running of the application, which is pretty self-explanatory as to why. The way you would import these icons is to go into the assets catalog directory thing, drag all of these guys in there, and you get all of your icons kind of like that. So it looks pretty nice, pretty crisp, and you're ready to start building out your application. So I guess I'll kind of go through how this works right here, which is pretty simple. So this entire component is called a UI tab bar controller. And what you need to do to get these icons down there is to kind of build out a custom tab bar controller. So what I'm going to do is hit right click on that, new file, I guess, Swift file like that. I'm gonna call this custom tab bar controller. Pretty generic name. Make sure to name it to something meaningful inside of your application. Import UI kit class custom tab bar controller. UI tab bar controller, right? So you want to override this method, call viewDidLoad, call super viewDidLoad, and I want to say background color, no, not that, view.background color equals .red. So I have this custom tab bar controller with a red background now. Go to app delegate, and I want to kind of use this as my base root view controller. So this is something that I do a lot in my tutorials, which is to kind of avoid the storyboard. So I'll call this UI window guy myself and just create the window myself. Let's see, main.bounds, I believe. Window, you gotta make it visible, otherwise you don't see it. Now you have access to the window itself, which you can set the root view controller to be this custom. Say, let me build my project, get the custom tab bar controller. And now I'm ready to run the entire application with a hopefully red tab bar controller. So it's gonna run and it's going to put me right there. You see the tab bar, which is at the bottom. Now I can start configuring the kind of the application to have its own set of tab bar images, kind of like this right here. So this is pretty simple. If you just do this right here, let me turn off the red. And let's say I want to show this news feed icon, right? I'm gonna say let VC equals perhaps UI view controller, which is just some kind of view controller. And I'm gonna say VC dot tab bar item dot image equals news, which gives me that icon right there. And for the tab bar controller, you have this property called view controllers, which specifies all of these controllers down here. Every time you click on something, it'll change to whatever view controller you have inside of this array like that. So I have this one single view controller now specified, and it'll pull this image for the very first tab icon inside of your app like that. So pretty good stuff. If I want to perhaps use this controller instead, which will make this a little bit easier for me, I will use this controller right there and go back to the tab bar controller, use that instead, and I can just perhaps go back to this file and say view.background color equals .white perhaps. I think that'll give me a white background for my view controller, which is just a little nicer to look at for this little demo here. And that gives me this right there and this news icon. And that's pretty much how you apply this logic. So let me just change this news VC, rename this right here. To get the rest of the icons inside of your app, you just apply the same exact logic. So let's say let videos VC equals view controller, like that. Videos VC dot tab bar item dot image equals video, which gives me that. And let's just do the rest of this right here. Market VC equals view controller. Let's see, market VC tab bar item image equals market, like that. And this is probably getting a little bit repetitive, but let's just do the rest of this to make it as complete as we can. So globe vc.tab bar item.image equals globe, like that. And finally, let's say hamburger vc equals view controller. Hamburger vc tab bar item.image equals hamburger, like that. And there we go. So inside of here, we can just say videos vc. What's the next one? Market VC, globe VC, and hamburger VC. And that's how you get all of the icons inside of your tab bar in the bottom of the app. So nothing too hard about how this works. Now you get all of these images down here, right? So one thing you'll notice is that many of those images are quite large, and these icons right here are a lot smaller and closer to what the application has the size at. So the reason why they are super, super large is because when we apply the image extraction for a lot of these icons right here, the actual sizing of the image is a little bit too big. So what you can do is, if you go to the image menu and go to image size right here, you can actually lower the image icon size itself. So for this news icon, if I change it to something like perhaps, let's see, what's a good size? 45, I think, is always something that's pretty good, or 44, 46. I like to use even numbers instead. And that'll maintain the aspect ratio with this link button right here. So that shrinks it down just a little bit. And now I can save for web again, which gives me this menu. I'll click on the news and I'll replace the file like that. So that gives me a smaller news icon now, which is about that size. And these images are a lot larger. You can tell right out the bat right there. So that's kind of how that works. If you now go back to Xcode, go back to assets right here and click on the news feed right here, I can just replace it with this new icon like that. And that'll make for this smaller image like that. And let me shrink another image set, which is this right here. So I'm going to hit Command Option I, which gives me the image size. And let's just use 46 for this guy. Save this for the video. And this is kind of how this works. I kind of want to show you how easy this is. And it's a little bit tedious, but I like to make sure my icons are the right size. So what is this? The market one? Yes. Market, like that. And that's kind of how extraction works and resizing works. So let me just replace those couple of icons with the market one, which is this, a lot smaller. And we get the video one, which is down below right there. So that's how that works. And let me try to run the app again. You'll see the first three icons are a lot smaller. And then we have the rightmost icons on the right side are a lot bigger. So if you want to adjust the size, that's how you would do it. That's kind of how that works. So the last thing I want to show you guys how to kind of extract inside of this video is the image inside of the Navbar, which is also exactly the same technique that we use in the other icons. So let's go back to the wand right here, click on this layer, click on that, that, and that. So I'm just holding on the shift button to make sure the selections, all the selections are adding to each other, which makes up these four little areas inside of the image. Hit the copy, hit new, hit OK, paste that in there. And you notice how there is a bluish border. Knock the background out. I can just double click on the layer, click on color overlay, make sure everything is perhaps white, which gives you that, and hit OK. That's my complete icon. Hit the save, or save for web. Make sure you're saving for web. Save this guy out, and you'll get perhaps the friends list icon. So add to X like that. And going back to Xcode, you can now save or import the image inside like so. So you get this icon like that. Looks pretty nice and pretty accurate to what the image is inside of the app. So to bring it into the application, you're gonna have to do a couple of things, which is to kind of adjust the navigation bar a little bit. So going to this view controller file right here, you actually need some kind of navigation bar. So I'm gonna just run through this really quick. I'm gonna say let nav controller equals UI nav controller. Root view controller is this news VC thing. I'm gonna use that as my very first navigation kind of controller of my first view controller inside of the custom tab bar. So running this, you actually get a kind of a nav bar at the very top, which is this right here. And if you go to these pages, you don't have that nav bar. So once you have that, you can start setting the images on this view controller. So let's say navigation item dot right navigation, so right bar button items equals UI bar button item. I use this image constructor, which is this right here, called the friends list icon, which is that. And what is this right here? Dot plain dot nil and nil for the selector and the target. So running this now, you'll hopefully see this icon in the navbar. I haven't really ran this code before, so we'll see what shows up inside of the app, which is that right there. So the reason why it kind of looks a little wonky is because when you size the application down and up like that, it doesn't exactly look that nice until you go back to 100% zoom, which is what this looks like right here. And so that's kind of the icon, but it's in a different color, right? So if you want to figure out how to perhaps change the navigation bar with the status bar color of white and also this title text right here, you can click on a training course that I have available on my website and kind of go through some of the techniques that I kind of use to adjust the color of the navigation bar and all of its attributes. So that is kind of how all of this works. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. If you want to download the project and the source code for today's video, you can find a download link in the description. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below as well. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye, guys.